Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, officers, and welcome to the meeting of Braintree District Cabinet. Before I start, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Councillor Jim Bond in his first Cabinet meeting as leader of the Halstead Residents Association. Jim, welcome to the meeting. As we go through the meeting, you'll see that Cabinet members will introduce the reports, but it's open debate, question, and please, you're very welcome to participate as much as little as you would like. But it's lovely to see you. And in doing so, I think it's only quite appropriate that we put in the minutes, extend our thanks and our acknowledgement to Councillor Pell, who was obviously leader of the Residents Association, but particularly to thank her for her participation in our proceedings over a number of years. Right, moving on to the agenda proper. Apologies for absence. Received apologies this evening from Councillor Butland, and I think we're all, apart from that, we're all present and correct. Thank you very much indeed. Item number 2, declarations of interest. I'd like to disclose non-pecuniary registrable interest as a member of Essex County Council, perhaps a slight over-declaration, but Essex County Council are mentioned in some of the reports this evening, particularly regarding how things are funded, so I think that would be appropriate to declare that. Looking around, colleagues, any other declarations of interest? Okay, thank you very much indeed. On to minutes of the previous meeting. The last Cabinet meeting was held on the 27th of November of this year. Cabinet colleagues, do I have your permission to sign these as an accurate record of that meeting? Colleagues agreed? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. That takes us on to public question time. No members of the public registered to speak. And therefore we'll go on to agenda item 5, which is the property disposals. And this item will be introduced by Councillor Kevin Bowers. Councillor Bowers, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cunningham. The report before you tonight, members, is in relation to the status and future of the industrial land at 4 Crittall Drive, located within Springwood Industrial Estate. The site currently contains no property following the demolition of the previous industrial unit in 2023 due to its poor condition. At present, the land is leased for temporary storage, but both the lease and planning permission will expire in July 2026. Access to the site is via Crittall Drive, an unadopted road which the council maintains, though there is no mechanism to recover these costs from users. Our asset management team has ensured that access and egress rights for industrial use remain protected regardless of future ownership. With the end of the temporary storage use approaching and no opportunity to extend this arrangement, we have explored options including the development of new energy efficient industrial units or a potential sale. Feasibility studies commissioned last year confirmed that constructing modern units would require a budget of 1.9 million and a 3-year build programme with projected rental income of approximately £125,000 per annum and additional service charge recovery. However, during our review, Greenshields JCB Limited approached the council seeking to expand their operations and presenting a conditional offer to purchase both the site and the adjoining road. After careful consideration, including an independent RICS Red Book market valuation, it has been confirmed that their offer represents best consideration for the council. Given the imminent expiry of permitted use, the significant capital investment required for redevelopment and the council's preparations for devolution and local government reform, is recommended that we proceed with the sale of 4 Crittall Drive and the Crittall Drive. This approach and balances our investment strategy with the need to manage our assets responsibly and effectively. For ease, I will summarise the financial implications associated with the proposed sale of this site. Firstly, it is important to note that the lease for the temporary storage use will expire in July 2026. This will result in a loss of annual revenue amounting to £60,000. However, this anticipated reduction has already been incorporated into our budget planning for 26-27 financial year and the medium-term financial strategy. In addition, the sale of the site will incur professional fees, including costs for the RICS valuation, surveyors and legal services. These expenses will be deducted from the capital receipt generated by the sale. Crucially, the capital receipt itself will strengthen our financial position, providing additional resources that can be allocated to future capital investments. This will support the Council's ongoing commitment to prudent financial management and enable us to invest in projects that benefit our communities. So in conclusion, Chairman, I move the recommendations set out on page 5 of tonight's report, but also just bring to your attention there is a confidential appendix to this item. So you might want to just double check if anyone wanted to go into private session for that part, but I will move the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. If we did wish to go into private session, we'd obviously have to move the ceasing of the webcast and exclude members of the public and press. Is there anything in the private confidential piece that members would wish to discuss? Ideally, we'd like to try and keep as much of the debate in the public session as possible. But can I just ask before we respond, and thank you to Councillor Bowers for that, is there anything in the private report that colleagues would like to draw attention to or ask? If that changes in the next 5 minutes, please do say, and obviously we'll make alternative arrangements. So therefore we'll continue with the debate and discussion in public session. Councillor Bowers, thank you for that. A good positive story and good positive progression following on from the asset management review and delivering against the asset management strategy. Thoughts, comments and questions, colleagues? Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I would welcome this report before us this evening. Having gone through the usual due diligence within our council, I think this offers the best value for us to dispose of that site. And it also keeps a valued business, not just in Braintree, but allows them to expand into Braintree as well. And we've always been a council that's championed businesses moving on to the next level and be able to expand and doing that whilst in the Braintree district. So we wholly support the approach that they've made, and I will be recommending this report this evening. Thank you.
Councillor Ritchie, thank you very much. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, colleagues? If not, it has been moved by Councillor Bowers. Recommendations 2.1, 2.3 on page 5. Cabinet colleagues, are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. We will then move on to the next item, which is item number 6, and that is the plant replacement, and that's sitting with me this evening. And the central purpose of this Cabinet report is to buy some new equipment for the operations team and to seek delegated authority to award any contract. This involves the purchasing of 2 tractors, 2 4x4 utility vehicles, 2 tow-along mowers and 12 ride-on mowers. Key pieces of equipment for the operation team, key in the spring and summer season when the amount of work required by these machines is at its most intense. The report will allude to a number of factors that have been considered. One, that existing leases were coming to the end and the equipment was ageing, and as the point I make about trying to ensure that operationally we're not compromised in any way during a busy season. That, I think, is the overriding reason why the choice of fuel is conventional. Alternative fuel sources were looked at, but I don't think the technology and the usage of alternatives, including electric, is appropriate with this sort of equipment at given that time. Effectively, machines need to come off wagons, do work, go back on wagons and move to the next site very, very quickly. So, the recommendations before us this evening are to delegate authority to the Cabinet Member for Transformation, Environment and Customer Services in consultation with the Corporate Director Operational to award all associated contracts following the procurement of 18 pieces of plant equipment, as mentioned earlier, and to delegate to the S151 officer the decision to determine the most appropriate method of financing the procured plant equipment in line with the Council's capital and treasury management practices. Colleagues, any comments or questions, please? Councillor Bevis.
Thank you, Chairman. I was only going to ask one quick question on the word. I think it says approximate or estimate purchase price of 614. It just seems to me, without, there may have been, if there was, I missed it, an itemised listing, but it seems slightly more that it's more of an inflated price, that one would expect it to come in a little bit less than that. Is that what you're expecting, or?
My understanding is that includes a bit of contingency, but we have looked at different financing options. Equipment this day and age is very, very expensive. Even non-motorised equipment, even things like tractors and sorry, not tractors, they're motorised, trailers rather, are even if they haven't got an engine. I'm trying to sound as though I'm more technically aware than I am, and I'm not very convincing, I do apologise. But the cost escalation of this sort of equipment over the last 5-10 years has been quite unprecedented. So we have gone through the proper procurement process. The figures are high, but we are confident that we have got, we need the equipment. This is reasonably good value. As always with LGR, it's future-proof because whatever council configuration, we're going to need mowers and things to cut grass. So I hope we can have some confidence in that, and that can allay some concerns. Thank you. Councillor Jeffreys.
I might have missed it, but I just wondered what happens to the old equipment.
We do try and recover. So I'm looking at across at Mrs. Root here. We do try and recover some of the costs of that equipment, don't we? Through used machinery sales and other sort of. We do try and recoup some of the cost. So whilst there might not be a lifespan of 5 years of our intensity, it's quite likely that private or another public sector organisation might get some last residual use out of the asset. Councillor Ritchie and then Councillor Van Dalken.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to pick up on the point around the choice for going for internal combustion engines, did we do our usual check on any vehicles that could have benefited from electric vehicles? I know at Grey Notley we've recently procured a EV 4x4. However, the duty on that is fairly light in comparison. So I just wanted to check, or maybe you could just advise maybe those who are listening that we have considered those as part of the procurement process and they weren't quite up to the scratch for meeting the demands that the BDC operations team require.
Absolutely. My understanding is we have done that, and I think the difference between equipment sort of purchased by a parish council is very localised. They're only going to be a few minutes away from the recharging point. These machines, these tools will be used on a busy programme of work and could quite easily be transported across large parts of the district in one working day. So that's the reason why we've opted for the traditional internal combustion. Thank you. Councillor Van Dalken.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. No, I was just going to say this: the horticultural service is a very important one, and we actually make some money from it, if I'm allowed to put it that way. And given that we're going into LGR, I think it's important that they can start in the new arrangement with a decent set of equipment, rather than having to beg for it, potentially.
Thank you, Councillor Van Dalken. Councillor Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to add that it is important that this stock is as up to date as we can possibly keep it, because it is one that is so visible if it's not working for a week or two. And with the growing seasons that we have lately in this country, if you miss a go at grass or hedge cutting, well, every one of us gets it in the neck if it's in our wards.
Absolutely, it's a vital service that is recognised by all residents across the district. You're absolutely right, Councillor Heath. Thank you. Right, well, if there's no further comments or questions on that, it's been moved. Recommendations 2.1 and 2.2. Cabinet colleagues, are you in agreement? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. We'll now move on to item 7, which is the procurement of plastic sacks for 26 and 27. 7. And due to the upcoming changes in the method of collecting curbside and dry mixed recycling from June 2026, which have been pretty well publicised, the Council's requirement for domestic clear dry mixed recycling sacks will cease. Therefore, on the 2nd of June 2025, the Council sought a short-term contract to satisfy its current and known business-as-usual requirements to ensure sufficient stocks until a longer-term contract has been established. The current contract is for 3 products only: domestic residual sacks, domestic black sacks, domestic residual sacks which are clear, and commercial recycling sacks which are also clear. The current contract expires on the 3rd of September 2026 and was for 15 months. However, all the requirements have now been called off and this contract is complete. So the purpose of this Cabinet report is to seek approval for Braintree District Council to award 2 contracts, to award a contract for the procurement of plastic sacks and to award a contract for compostable sacks. Obviously, with the changes that we're bringing in next year, it means a change, and therefore we need to ensure, as part of our product range, we have absorbent hygiene sacks and sacks also for clinical waste. Cromwell Polythene Limited provided the most advantageous quote based on quality, price and social value. It is therefore recommended that the contract is awarded to Cromwell Polythene Limited. The prices provided by Cromwell have been included as a confidential appendix to this report. So again, if colleagues wanted to delve into that, we would have to go into private session. But in the meantime, we'll carry on in public. So the recommendations are 2.1, 2 and 2.2 to approve the award of a contract to Cromwell Polythene for the procurement of plastic sacks for a contract term of 13 years with the option to extend for a further 2 years for 1-year increments. Sorry, apologies, what did I say? 13, oh good Lord, sorry, I was scared. Crikey. The procurement of plastic sacks for a contract term of 3 years, and not 13, 3 years, with the option to extend for a further 2 years in 1-year increments. To approve the award of a contract to Cromwell Polythene for the procurement of compostable sacks for the contract term of 3 years, with the option to extend for further 2 years in 1-year increments. Colleagues, that's the recommendations. Any thoughts, comments or questions, please? Thank you. Councillor Bowsford.
Thank you, Chairman. I haven't got a problem with this, but I would just like a little reassurance that we're not over-ordering these, because if you walk in that reception at the moment, every single hard surface, including the whole long length of the desk, is covered in rolls of plastic sacks, which tells me that we may have too many.
Either that or we were doing a quick audit of how many we've had left. I'm looking across to Mrs. Root to answer that. Thank you very much indeed.
So, councillors, that is a temporary issue because a whole load of sacks got wet. So it's just logistical, and it happened to be there when you came in this evening.
Okay, so hopefully that allays concerns. Colleagues, any other thoughts, comments or questions on that? No? Okay, then it's been recommended. 2.1, 2.2. Colleagues, do I have your agreement, please? Thank you very much indeed. Right. That takes us to the next item, where we seek to purchase some boxes. And, of course, again, as a result of the council changing its way, it will collect waste from June 2026. And as part of this change, receptacles used by residents to store and present recycling for collection would need to change from single-use plastic bags to wheeled bins or recycling boxes. As we know, assessments have been made in terms of the capacity for properties to accommodate these extra receptacles. We've offered a standard service and a non-standard service. The non-standard waste collection service will include either 4 or 8 boxes to be provided to households in order to provide them the same capacity as they were to receive wheeled bins. Through this work that has been done in the months since May, it has been expected that around 5% of households which is about 3,500, will require these alternative receptacles. Prior to the Cabinet decision that was taken in May 2025, a procurement exercise was conducted within the report, recommending to award a contract in order to facilitate delivery of bins and boxes from February 2026. However, as the procurement process continued, the winning manufacturer that was listed in the May report was unable to continue with that procurement process, and therefore it ended without a successful award. Since the 13th of June 2025, the Council has worked with colleagues in the Essex Procurement Partnership to find alternative ways to procure and award a new contract. This includes an unsuccessful attempt to award from a framework before going to open tender again on the 1st of October 2025. Therefore, the recommendation is to approve the award of a contract to provide recycling boxes and lids to IPL Limited for a period of 3 years, with the option to extend for 2 years in 12-month increments. The contract value of the contract is written in the report and is over a 5-year period. Colleagues, that's the recommendation. Any thoughts, comments or questions on this, please?
It's just a question, and you might not know the answer, I don't know, but in regards the disparity between the number of boxes needed and the number of lids needed, why do we need more lids, I suppose, is the main question in regards to that, and also how do we calculate that? I was just trying to work out in regards to the number of boxes we've got compared to the number of lids we need. The sort of the 31,944 boxes to the 38,880 lids. I just wondered how that was.
I am presuming, and I stand to be corrected, or sit to be corrected, it relates to a contingency in terms of any breakages or any other issues with the lids, because treated wrongly or problems in transport, they could easily break and could cause problems. So I think that's my understanding. I'm getting nods from the right direction, so it is a contingency. Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts or comments on that? Councillor Mrs Spray.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm pleased to see this come forward, because I think we understood a little while ago from Head of Operations that the team was struggling to find a source for suitable boxes and lids, and you know, time was short to get something in place. So I think, yeah, I'm pleased to see that we have managed to secure a suitable supplier. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Spray. Any other thoughts, comments or questions? I'm looking around, not seeing any. Therefore, Cabinet colleagues, having moved the recommendations, are you in agreement? The recommendation agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Which will then take us to certainly the final item I will be presenting this evening, and that is the Trade Garden Waste Service. And this report seeks approval for the Council to introduce a new garden waste commercial collection service from the 1st of April 2026, which forms part of the package of waste collection services for businesses and ports compliance with simpler recycling. The report also seeks approval for delegated authority to be given to the Cabinet member to approve the changes for the commercial trade waste service for 26-27. Now, the Council, as a waste collection authority, has a duty under Section 45(1)(b) of the Environmental Protection Act 1990 to arrange the collection of commercial waste where requested to do so. The Council provides a competitively priced service. However, businesses are not obligated to use the service and can procure their own collection requirements for any other third-party supplier. The commercial waste service generates income of £1.2 million, covering operational and disposal costs and contributing towards management and overhead costs. Charges are inclusive of disposal costs, which are payable to Essex County Council. When developing the proposed charges for financial year 26-27, the following considerations are made: inflationary and other changes in the Council's operation costs relating to the service, changes in the processing and disposal costs of waste as controlled by Essex County Council. Therefore, using this analysis and appreciating that the introduction of simpler recycling across the board will change the modus operandi of this trade waste service, A recommendation to increase charges will be made. However, the disposal costs have to be confirmed by ECC. And we wait for that further information. So effectively, colleagues, what we're seeking is a decision this evening to enable a decision to be taken once more information is clear to us. And therefore, the recommendations are to improve the introduction of a garden waste collection service for commercial waste customers from the 1st of April 2026, and to approve delegated authority to the Cabinet Member for Transformation, the Environment and Customer Services to approve the 26-27 commercial trade waste charges once all applicable costs are available. Thank you, colleagues. Any comments, thoughts or questions on that? Looking around the room and not seeing. Councillor Heath, sorry, apologies.
No, that's fine. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to word it. I'm quite happy with this going to a delegate decision, but of course, what I'd like to be confident in is that we are going to ensure that for our local businesses, we provide the most cost-effective, best service that we can. And so, can we just have assurances that we will benchmark against others when setting our prices? I mean, I don't expect the residents to subsidise the business, but I don't expect or hope a business feels that it's having to overpay for a service either.
Councillor Heath, I thank you very much for that, and I think you make an excellent point. I think in the past we have been successful in terms of setting charges that are comparable with the commercial realities, the fact that, as you quite rightly say, residents can't subsidise this, and there are costs involved, whilst without being, frankly, greedy in terms of bottom line. And I would hope that once we've gone through this process, once the final bits of information are made aware to us from Essex County Council, and we can make the final decision, that we will continue very much in the same vein. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mrs Bowes-Flint, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I assume that we would run this along the same lines as we do collecting trade waste anyway. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's just obviously with simpler recycling, different, slightly different approach, and we just need to factor that in. But hopefully that long-term cost saving, that will be a benefit to the customer, which is to the residents, which is all what it's about. Excellent. Thank you. Recommendations have been moved. If there's no further comment or question, Cabinet colleagues, are we in agreement? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Well, that's the end of the items I'm presenting, and therefore I'm delighted now to hand back over to Councillor Bowers to introduce the second quarter performance management report of this year. Councillor Bowers, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Yes, this is the performance management report for the second quarter of the year 25-26. I'm pleased to present an update on our performance for the second quarter. Overall, our progress remains broadly in line with expectations, with the majority of our projects advancing well. By the end of the second quarter, 29 projects are on track. Let me highlight some key achievements. 5 projects reached completion this quarter. Notably, the Safer Streets programme concluded successfully in Housestead. We also agreed on the sale of plots 5 to 8 at Horizon 120, including arrangements for the associated soil. The North Essex Council's Climate Partnership published its risk register, and the Essex Flood Guide was both published and actively promoted by the Council. However, there are some areas requiring our attention. 4 projects currently hold an amber status. These include the development of supplementary planning documents for renewable energy and waste, facing delays due to resource allocation and the need for further consideration. The Green Skills programme has seen lower than expected learner uptake, reducing its capacity. Additionally, our support for school access to university open days has been limited by university capacity constraints. 1 project is at red status. The regeneration works of Whittam and Housestead town centres remains under discussion with Essex Highways. Agreement on all aspects of adoptable works is still pending before we can finalise a programme of works. Turning to our performance indicators, 7 indicators have met or exceeded their targets, however 9 have not. Of these, 5 missed their targets by less than 5%. These include the percentage of household waste sent for recycling affected by a reduction in garden waste tonnage, kilograms of residual waste per household, where a new lower target was not achieved despite improvement over the last year. The percentage of fly tips cleared within 24 hours impacted by increased evidence gathering time prior to clearing caused a number of breaches. Council tax and business rates collection rates both showing minor variations but expected to recover by year end. 4 indicators missed their targets by more than 5%. The number of affordable homes delivered was lower due to delays in completions. The percentage of disabled facilities grants approved within timescale was affected by funding challenges from last year. The percentage of inquiries resolved at first contact in our customer service centre remains below target as complex calls continue to require specialist departmental input. The time taken to process housing benefit claim changes increased, reflecting a shift towards fewer but more complex cases due to increases in the local council tax support scheme. Moving on to the financial performance and outlook, I'm pleased to report that our financial performance at the end of the second quarter remains positive. We are currently projecting a favourable variance of 1.5 million for the year, an improvement on the 1.1 million reported at the end of quarter one. This uplift is largely due to increased income and extended periods of staffing vacancies across our services. Treasury management income is set to exceed expectations, benefiting from high cash balances and sustained interest rates. Sustainable development is also performing well, with staffing vacancies and strong planning related income contributing to a positive outlook. Operations and ICT services have seen similar gains, primarily due to staff vacancies and increased operational income. However, there are areas of concern. Asset management, environment, housing and strategic investment are all forecasting adverse positions, each exceeding 5% of their respective budgets. Asset management and environment are facing income shortfalls, with environment also incurring additional staffing costs due to ongoing interim arrangements in building control. Housing is projecting an overspend on staffing driven by service demand and the need to cover unplanned absences with agency staff. Cost pressures in temporary housing and nightly lets are being offset by government grants and subsidy. Strategic investment is projecting overspend due to increased staffing costs and reduced service charges to capital projects as the team supports a broader range of delivery. Following confirmation of the pay award, service budgets have been updated and the in-year cost pressure is being absorbed by the surplus in Treasury management income. Significant adjustments have already been identified and factored into our initial budget proposals for 26-27 following the quarter one review. With the latest forecast, we will undertake a further review to identify any ongoing risks and opportunities that may need to be reflected in the final budget proposals. Capital expenditure to the end of quarter two stands at £2.6 million, with major investments in the Witham Community Centre, a new 3G pitch in Witham and planned maintenance of council properties and community assets. Some projects are expected to slip into next year, while others are progressing ahead of schedule, bringing forward spend originally profiled for 2026-27. Notably, an underspend on the Causeway House refresh project has been included in our forecast for available capital resources for the 26-27 budget, alongside other additional resources generated this period. In summary, while we celebrate our successes, we remain vigilant and proactive in addressing the challenges highlighted. All portfolio holders look forward to working together with officers and partners to ensure continued progress for the rest of the financial year. Therefore, Chairman, I will just move the recommendation in page 37 of tonight's agenda is to note the report. Thank you.
Councillor Bowers, thank you very much indeed for that comprehensive presentation of the report. I think it's fair to say that, bearing in mind all the additional pressures on the organisation at this time as it plans for unprecedented change, there is an awful lot of positive delivery in there. But I think it also points to an organisation that's part of a sector that is going through huge change, and there are constraints and challenges. And I think there, particularly around staffing, particularly around ensuring that continuity of service and that level of service is maintained. And I think we're all aware of those challenges. And before I open it up to everyone, to all members present, Cabinet colleagues, is there anything particularly regarding your portfolio, your areas that you would like to raise or comment on? Councillor Bowersford's got a hand up first. Councillor Bowersford, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I I do wish to raise this every time so people don't forget, and then at the end of the year don't come back and say, well, we didn't know, that the number of affordable homes may, and I'm using the word may, not reach the target this year. It's beyond our control because it's down to delivery, but it'll be the first time we haven't done it for many years. But I just want people to be aware of that so they don't come shouting at the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Well, that would be unprecedented, but I'm sure it's still the final figure will still be an impressive figure compared to many comparable authorities in the locality. Colleagues, Councillor Spray by Whisker and then Councillor Ritchie. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and only because I referenced this at full council last week. Just to note that planning applications, both majors, minors and others, were all decided on time, and actually the target was exceeded, and this happens fairly regularly now, and I'm hoping I'm not jinxing it by saying that, but quarter after quarter that the target is exceeded, and I think that's particularly impressive because there is now a constant push from government, not just the current government but the previous government as well, to decide these applications on time. We are monitored very closely on that with all sorts of, I won't use the word threats, but all sorts of messages that if you don't make these decisions on time, you know, we will step in and run your planning departments for you. But we do extremely well on this, and once again, this is a very good result for that quarter. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Spray. Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you very much. I feel duty bound to just mention House and Whittam Town Centre Bus. I could see Councillor Paul Heath looking at me across the table there, and no doubt it was probably a question from Councillor Bond as well. So although this report is obviously for the second quarter, and it's noted the progress up to that point, I think it's just only right that we mention that we have made some good progress in Whittam over the past couple of weeks or so. We reached out to members in Houseted just to let them know the reason for the slight delay in carrying out works, because we didn't want to jeopardise their festive businesses in the run-up to Christmas, as the works permit that was given to us unfortunately went across a couple of weekends. So we're just re-liaising with Essex County Council to get those reprogrammed. And the final part of the install, which is the lighting columns, they are on order. They are on track to be delivered to a contractor mid to late January, with an install commencement date of February. So with a bit of luck, there is light on the horizon, and we're looking forward to subsequent future performance reports showing this in a favourable light. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ritchie, and I think I can give the assurance that Essex County Council are giving this full attention in terms of working with colleagues at Braintree District Council to unlock any blockages to ensure swift progress as we go into the new year. Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. Councillor Mary Cunningham, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. No, just to say how pleased I am to see how well the Council Community Grant is doing. There's been terrific enthusiasm from all councillors this year, and particularly like to thank Todd-Arena Hammond for her input. Yeah. She has done an amazing job, having only been in the authority a matter of months, but has come with some great ideas. And I think just looking at the applications or the awards that have been listed here, I mean, it's youth to older people to sport. I mean, an ultraviolet water filtration system for Terling swimming pool. The sky's the limit on these, and I think this year particularly we have done a great job all round. So thanks for all councillors for getting so involved as well. Thank you. Thank you,
Councillor Mrs Cunningham. Any other hands up? Did I see? I'm going to go to Councillor Bevis first, then Councillor Heath. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask the Cabinet Member, I think I have asked before when we've been looking at this through the scrutiny role, when we're thinking about the disability facility grants, I think it's the calls resolved at first point of contact, and also the revs and bends as well. So really the processing of all three of those, seem to be consistently on red. And I just wondered, as the council's been going through its service reviews and thinking about LGR, are we looking to put a bit more resource into this? Are you unduly concerned about it? Or are you feeling that we're going to see a change in that RAG rating going forward? Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs Bowers, friend, did you want to take that one? Thank you.
Yeah, on the DFG, I think it's best to say that we've had staffing issues there that hasn't, so the grants haven't had the attention that they should have. But it isn't just a case of getting somebody and putting extra member staff in there, because obviously they've got to know what they're doing with DFGs. However, the situation is going to improve very shortly, so that should become better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Heath.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just a few points. I would like to start by saying that I think I always say that this document is one of my favourites that come out of this council, because it breaks everything down and is easy to delve into the parts of it. And it is really good from a councillor point of view to see that the community section of it is all on green or ticked. And I mean, there are so many plus points in that. I mean, the Boost Your Budget book, whoever managed to convince the purse holder to print 3,500 of these really does have mine and many other people's thanks, because I can read a laptop, but it's so much easier reading it out of paper when you're trying to explain it to local groups that you're visiting, and then just leave them a copy. That is fantastic. So that's where I really would like to start. In reply to Councillor Ritchie, what I will say is that Dominic Collins and his colleagues have actually kept us updated so well on the disappointments that have been to Whittam High Street. Let's be honest, because some of it you think, if that was your own front driveway being worked on, you would not have waited all this time. But they've always given us the time and the answers and allowed us to go out and face our own residents. I think Toby would back me up on that. It's that. And the other thing I would like to say, which is on page 71 of our report, is the sickness levels. Now, I do have concerns of being somebody that's been around for long enough and worked in places that have had redundancies and change of ownerships and everything else. And I do just worried that the increase and the increase in sickness quarter on quarter, is there a lot of concern about people and their livelihood and their future affecting this? Because if you was able to say to us it's all flu or hip replacement time off and things like that, I'd have a lot less concern than if people are really taking it into their own personal life as well and suffering, because as I say, unfortunately I've seen that before. So as someone once said to me, it's all right being a carer, but make sure someone's caring for the carer. So just that. But the positive thing on that page as well is the increase in apprenticeships. But as I say, it's a document that I believe helps us as normal councillors to be able to see the workings of the council, and I thank you for it.
Councillor Heath, thank you very much indeed. Excuse me, sorry for those comments. Yes, I mean, I think to get the budget holder to let anybody else achievement. So so quite right too. No, that's good to know. That's been helpful. I think appreciate all your comments, but particularly the point you raise about staff sickness, and also the pressure and uncertainty of the current process of change we're all going through. And I think you're absolutely right to raise that. All I would say is, of course, there's great uncertainty, and that comes with anxieties. What I would say, I think, and Chief Executive or Senior Officer team will correct me if I'm wrong, there are still many unknowns in terms of the process, but I generally believe our staff have been, rather like our members, have been some of the best briefed in the sector, in the county, in terms of what is coming down the line, what it may look like, what is likely to happen at certain stages. I don't think that's the case across the sector totally. I do think our staff can have some concerns allayed by the fact they are being kept up to date and regularly consulted, regularly briefed. I know our head of transformation holds regular, does he call them tea at threes or cup of teas with? Tea at threes, where staff can come in and hear not just about the long-term sector change, but actually some of the short-term changes that are happening in the organisation. And I do think we have a connection with our officers better than many other local authorities in the sector, and that'll serve us well, not only when the big change comes, but also in the period of time leading up to that. But senior officers are here, they take that, they hear what you say today, Councillor Heath, and ensure that level of engagement and working with our staff will continue as we go into the next calendar year. But thank you very much indeed for raising that. Councillor Bowes-Flint.
Thank you, Chairman. Regarding sickness, obviously that concerns everybody and the amount of sickness there is. The head of service that I deal with in my portfolio is onto this very much so, because of the front face and the nature of the business that some of those staff have to deal with nowadays, and there is a lot with complex issues and everything. I can understand wholeheartedly why somebody might not feel well after dealing with some of the things that they have to deal with, but the head of service is definitely monitoring it, and we are looking at it to make sure that all staff are cared for. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Bond, come on in, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Having been prompted, I couldn't not respond about the town centre. All I would echo Councillor Heath's comments that we've really been well supported by officers to keep us informed. And I personally am looking forward to one of the lauded outcomes of LGR. That means that when we're dealing with one authority, things will get better. But actually, we really would like it completed before then, obviously. And I also just wanted to, again, picking up Councillor Heath's point really around staffing. I know that it's not a perfect picture, but 93,000 transactions with the council online during the 2 months. A large lot of that is obviously real staff, and that's a lot of work that's being dealt with either electronically or in person, and I think we need to acknowledge that. And another issue that really impacts, as Councillor Bowes-Flint's talking about, the work pressures that our staff work under. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bond, for that. And yes, just on the town centre, key to it for both BDC and ECC is getting it done, getting it finished. Totally, I think Councillor Ritchie, I think totally appreciates the points that have been and the praise to Mr. Dominic Collins and team. Need to get the thing done. There are lessons to be learned, and I think project management and project delivery in a new LGR world will be far easier than it currently is. And for that alone, we look forward to those days in the not too distant future. Excellent, thank you. Anything else on the performance report, Councillor Bowes? Anything else you'd like to add before we close?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, Councillor Bowes has requested that this is noted. Cabinet colleagues, the report is to agree that it's noted. Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Well, that brings us to the end of formal business this evening. There's nothing to be dealt with in private session. So it calls on me to close the meeting, and just to say in the leader's absence, thank you all colleagues, members of the political executive, officers, opposition leaders, scrutiny chair. Thank you very much for your contribution on the cabinet through 2025. It's perhaps an overused expression in recent meetings that this has been a busy year. Quite a lot's happened. Not one to make lurid predictions, but I have a feeling next year could be quite busy too. And with that in mind, as through this week we finish final business of the year, may I wish you all and your families a very happy Christmas and a relaxing break over the festive period. Just also like to say thank you, which we don't often do, but thank you to Jack, who's been on webcasting duties, and thanks to the team from upstairs who are behind the scenes, but actually enable all of these meetings to happen, and thank you to them. Once again, thank you all. Jim, welcome. Lynn, Joe, Paul, for your contributions through 2025. Look forward to seeing you all again in the year. Have a lovely Christmas. Happy New Year. Safe journey home. Thank you very much indeed. Meeting closed, 8:06. Thank you.